Hello, everyone, and welcome back to RHAP and our coverage of the summit. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am here today, as always, by Chappell. How you doing, Chappell?
I'm good, Taran. We're at the final 7. We're
Final
doing it.
7 after this
Yeah.
vote, yeah.
Yeah, I think there was several, like 3 more checkpoints or something left.
And
We're
there's
making our
several
way through the
people
season.
left.
Yeah, several people left. Yeah, shout out to Jelinski wherever you are. We're almost to the top. And I think it's down to crunch time now with the strategy, with the climbing. I think it's about to get rough. So I'm very excited to talk to you about this episode of the summit.
Yes, well, this did feel like a slightly more strategically focused episode, even though I did feel like they still kind of refrained from telling us exactly what happened. I feel like they generally told us what happened, which is that Beckylee was the swing vote and decided to go in one direction. But it felt like they were building this up to be like, well, I want to go this way, I want to go this way, and I want to go this way, and then everyone went on tennis.
Yeah, they really leaned into this like blindside. They wanted to blindside the audience. Like, oh, it could be Jeannie, it could be Amy. It's probably not gonna be Dennis. I don't think we even actually heard anybody really consider Dennis out loud. Because he's just always been the underlying default, like, or we could just do Dennis.
Well, it
But
was
this
like Amy
episode,
was the one pushing Dennis, right? But
yeah,
nobody else seemed to want
nobody took the
Dennis.
bait. Yeah, nobody took the bait. There, I think we have like literal footage of them saying, "So it's Amy, right? Like it's definitely Jeannie. It's definitely Jeannie." Like no one actually says, "Let's all listen to Amy, get rid of Dennis," but they did, and so I guess it's supposed to be this huge blindside for us, the audience. But I think Dennis just ran out of runway. It was only so much lying and scheming and backstabbing he could do before the people wanted to get rid of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, basically, what Beckylee says is that like pushing too hard and sticking her neck out too far to protect Dennis one more time was just not worth it. That she would lose people like Pumpkin and Dusty probably, and maybe even Amy herself if it wasn't Amy that she took the shot at. And so it seems to me like Beckylee is trying to maintain her position on both sides and doesn't want to get too locked into one side or the other, and felt that this was the best way of doing perhaps like a pendulum, and maybe she will swing back to the other side and knock out somebody else next time, but who knows at this point.
Yeah, I mean, she's in the center of these two alliances of 3, which is a great spot for her, right? Unless they just get together and decide to vote her out, she should be fine. If she wants to go with Pumpkin, Dusty, and Amy, she can. She wants to go with Nick, Jeannie, and Theron, she can. But she's got the power right now. It's a great episode for Beckylee. But I definitely have questions about their position and why they decided to even give Beckylee this much power. She's talking about how if I vote with these guys, I might lose Pumpkin, I might lose Dusty. And to that I say, why haven't you lost them already?
Right.
Taran, why do they still trust Beckylee? There's just nowhere else to go.
I don't know. It's just like this is what's hard about it, is that like there hasn't been enough focus on the strategy to really understand why people feel the way they do about anybody but the person they're trying to target. Like they will tell us, oh, Dennis is sketchy because he's lied, and Amy is too likable, and that makes her dangerous. And Jeannie is a little bit of a wild card, so we're not sure about her. But so then it's like, okay, that's why certain people want those people out. What about everyone else? How do people view Taran? I don't know. He just exists and then gets scared in challenges and then has strategic opinions. I have no idea how anybody else in the game views him. I thought he was tight with Beckylee, and then in this episode he was like, it might be a 4-4 vote with Beckylee on the other side. And I'm like, since when?
Yeah. That's exactly what I said. I said, wait, how is Beckylee on the other side? Since when is Beckylee and Dennis not, an obvious alliance? She has voted to save him while Pumpkin and Dusty and Amy have been gunning for this man for weeks or days, but for episodes, and so the power that Beckylee has to just kind of like slide over there and be like, yeah, I guess I could go with them. It caught me off guard, but you're right. We don't really see, how any of these relationships work outside of the person who's going home, right? So, we hear about the people who are in the hot seats, the nominees, Amy. We know Amy used to be good with Nick, but now she's not good with Nick anymore. We know Jeannie is great with Dennis, and we know Nick is great with Dennis or something. But I like Pumpkin and Taran. They've been on the same show. Dusty and Taran, they've been on the same show. Nick and Pumpkin. We don't know really how they're going to interact, and so Beckylee is using whatever social integrations there is in these alliances to her advantage. We just don't see them until they pan out in the vote, and it just keeps putting her in such a great spot. I don't see any world where they're getting her out before the end of this game. Like pencil her in for the finale.
Yeah, I mean, she seems locked to make it to the end. We just don't know how the end works. So, like, we don't know if she'll be in an advantageous position once she gets there. But she seems to have an idea. There is one point in this episode, I swear to you, they were talking about how Amy, like, cozies up to everyone that leaves. Like, there's going to be a jury vote.
I thought I was tripping because she was like, Amy's dangerous because she's friends with all the people we've eliminated. And I was like, so? Like, what does that
mean?
All
they're gone. Picked up by the Mountain Keeper and brought to the summit to vote at the end? Like, what's happening?
Which would be really cool. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like, if the helicopter door opens and we're expecting the Mountain Keeper and it's the jury, I'm like,
ghosts of your past are returning.
Right. That's kind of dope, right? And so I would be okay with that. But I don't know. I feel like maybe the rules aren't really clear. And so Beckylee is just talking as if it's a hypothetical, kind of like you and I trying to figure out, like, well, if there's a jury vote, then that would make Amy even more dangerous. And I can't rule it out because they didn't tell me there wasn't one. So her closeness with all her allies getting cut makes her dangerous to take to the end. But when she brought it up this time, I was really sitting there thinking, okay, well, if she's friends with all the people going home, then she's really not a threat, because look at her alliances. Look, socially, she's not great. Everybody that she's friends with is gone. You could just run the game right now. And I think someone else mentions a final five. Like, well, I've got my final five. Is it a final five? Are five people going to win the game? So I have so many questions. This show is not answering any of them.
Yeah, it's really not. And that was really like the strategy here. Theoretically, if I mean, there's a world where this was always happening, and Taran was right, and it was a 4-4 vote, and their best shot was flipping Beckylee because it was a tie, and who knows? I don't even know how a tiebreaker works in this show. Nope. But if it's anything like Survivor, there's a way to disincentivize ties, and maybe you can use that to pull Beckylee over. But then Jeannie loses her vote, and because of that, Dennis is eliminated instead of Amy, and the votes all coalesce together because of that. But like, if it had been 4-4, they would have pushed and they would have tried to get Beckylee to flip, because I don't think any one of them seemed to be willing to flip at that point either. So it was kind of almost understated that this twist may have just full on changed the vote.
Yeah, but what did you think about the twist in general? Because I think we talked about, there's no real consequence to not being able to complete these challenges, right? You just get back up and try again. And in this episode, for the first time, we see somebody who is not able to do something. There's one shot. You got one shot to traverse. And if you fall, you lose. Jeannie basically doesn't even get off the mountain good before she falls, and she loses her vote. And now we have another added benefit to doing well in the climbing portion of it. But, like you said, it did change the game a lot more than the show is telling us.
I was looking at the show a little sideways this episode.
Okay.
Just a little bit sideways. Because
talk to me.
Because maybe you can talk me through this. Why did Amy get a second chance on the rope?
The rope broke, Taran. She was holding the rope. She never let go of the rope. The rope snapped in her hand. And to that, I was like, wait a minute. Taran, they brought in a safety officer to be like, all right, Amy, you got to go again. And to that, I was like, Amy, the rope broke. I don't trust this show at all anymore. This is the same show that's had us climbing a mountain and the rope effing broke. Are you crazy? Man, I would have showed my ass. I got to getting on that mountain. Are you crazy? It's a show about climbing and the rope broke, Taran.
Okay, I have not rewatched this, so I will actually, I'll play this right now so I can look myself.
Yes.
But so the way that I was seeing it was that I didn't see the rope breaking. Maybe it did, But when she went again, she had like a little handhold. Like she had like a little, like almost not like a tied knot to like rest her hands on, but like a much chunkier portion to rest her hands on. And I felt like nobody else had that prior to that.
Well, once the rope broke, she had less rope than everybody else. So she had to hold up higher. They said, I think it's Nick who says, this is exponentially harder than the rest of us because she has basically less rope. But yeah, right when she gets to the end, they kind of highlight the moment because she's saying, my hands just slipped. But everybody else, especially Dusty, is like, nah, the rope snapped. And if that was me, I'd be losing my mind because that's just not fair. And my biggest issue is not that the rope snapped and that's like unfair to her. My issue is that this is a show that is contingent on me believing that I will not fall and die. And then,
well, to be fair, that was not the like least sketchy rope I've ever seen.
Yeah. I just don't see there any world where I would be okay with just like, yes, that rope was not securing my life in the game. I understand that. But if I can't trust that rope, how can I trust any of the ropes? That's like, to me, this is where I have a nervous breakdown. And I'm hard pressed to believe that if I, lean off the mountain too much, that I'm not just going to fall to my death and you're going to have to call in the safety officer and, make some hard decisions, Have you pulled it up?
I have. Okay. I see it now. So what happened was the bottom portion, the fat portion did like, it looked like the top portion of it like slipped off.
Yeah, like it just came apart.
Like they had wrapped some like tape or something around it, and then that portion just came off. And then that's what snapped off. And so then the next time around, she's got like a much meatier,
right,
more stable connection. Yeah, the safety officer comes in.
That's the part that killed me. I was like, you have to bring in a safety officer? She's like, yeah, run it back. You get another shot.
So Amy goes again. Amy doesn't lose her vote. Jeannie loses her vote. This happens to be the exact thing that will shift potentially this entire thing, which is why I was like, man, this is pretty convenient.
Yeah, it worked out. I mean, even just the opportunity for someone to lose a vote, it has never come up until the moment we got this 4-4 tie, right? Now they're like, all right, I don't think we have a tiebreaker rule here. So, maybe somebody lose their vote and make this really easy for us. It worked out. Jeannie, will tell us that, she never got a good grip on it. She's like, I just couldn't hold it up. Maybe they sabotaged the rope and they were hoping somebody would slip off or something like that so they wouldn't have to figure out a way to break this tie. Regardless, it is convenient timing that, now all of a sudden in the game, we can tilt the scale either way just based on someone's performance when that hasn't been a factor thus far.
Well, I will say, I do like it. I do think this is better. I think that like having some sort of punishment or repercussion for not completing the challenge is a good thing. I don't know if it's always like lose a vote or because like I guess if it's lose a vote, then it sort of discourages it, like diminishes the value of a slow or weak player to an alliance. It discourages you from like dragging somebody like that along because they don't actually help you numbers wise. Which I don't think is the only thing you want to do. I think like there are other ways you can do that too, where it's like you can sometimes maybe give them power. You're the one that fell. Now you choose who's nominated. It's similar to what they did last time with Jeannie, when Jeannie was the one who wasn't chosen to go, where it's like hey, the person that loses, they might be in danger, they might be in power. You never know. Do you want to even risk any of that in the first place? I think there's a bunch of ways they can do this. But I think sort of like I've been saying, I saw the preview for next time and it was like, hey, one of you is going to like die here and lose during this. And I was like, finally,
right.
Like, why are we doing this big adventurous mountain danger climb and the vast majority of people are getting eliminated like this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You have this big apparatus, this mountain, and the mountain is supposed to be so treacherous that your ability to climb should be something that is paramount, for lack of a better word. And here you are, climbing, and then said, "All right, you didn't make it, but that has nothing to do with it." It's like, okay, well, y'all could all just be walking around on flat land if that's the case. So yeah, use the mountain to its advantage and make it a part of the game to where you have to be able to conquer it. But to me, Taran, the show really, I think the show doesn't want this to be a social game as much as it is. I think that there's a lot of social elements, but what I think the show wants this to be the battle of the fittest. Like the who are the best climbers going at it. So that's why they keep incentivizing them to cut the slower people, the less fit people. If they fall, they lose their vote. If they go last, we can chop them off. If we get left too far behind, then they're slowing us down. Every episode starts with Manu going, "You're not fast enough. You're not fast enough. You're not fast." And they always make the checkpoint. Like he's lying to them, everyone, because he wants them to look around and say, "Why haven't we gotten rid of Jeannie yet? What are we, is Amy really like, is she slowing us down?" I think the show wants this to be like, all right, you thought you could get off the couch and win this game, but in reality, you ain't cutting it. You know what I'm saying? These real climbers are about to cut you off at the knees. And I don't know. I don't know if the vast majority of the audience wants to see that. I think everybody wants to think that they have a good chance at winning the game, regardless of what it is.
Here's my counter to that, Chappell. I
Okay.
think that the show wants you to think that.
No.
Because when somebody like Amy wins, you're going to feel like not only did she beat the mountain odds, but she even beat the show odds. You know what I mean? That here is this plucky underdog that not only accomplished the summit, but she outsmarted and outplayed her fellow contestants. She went against the entire point of the show and she won the summit. That's how impressive she is. You've been rooting for her this whole time.
I mean, you're right. If Amy wins, it is an incredible story, but I do think that it is just like completely, it's a story that even if they won it, they're making it really hard to get that, because you just keep reminding these people, she's not great. She can lose you a vote. She can slow you down. You might not make the checkpoint. You might not do this. If you leave her, you're going to lose it. I'm going to punish you. Just all the reasons in the world. Like, get Amy, get Amy, get Amy, get Amy, get Amy. And she's still here. So, yeah, if she's the winner here, this is a story of triumph. But if she's a loser, it's definitely like, all right, if you're an Amy type, a Jeannie type, a Bo type, all these people we left behind, a Patty type, why are you signing up? You know what I'm saying? Bring us the Jeffs and the Dusties of the world and let them battle it out, or the Beckylees, So I don't know. I would love to see an Amy win because I think that makes the show way more interesting, knowing that anybody could win the game.
Here's another thought for this show is like we've talked about this a lot. The Bo moment is the best moment. Like, let's have more eliminations during challenges. In fact, let's have maybe most eliminations during challenges. And there's like ways to, so maybe it's like the person who performs the couple of people that perform the worst in the challenge are up for elimination. And you might say like, oh, well, that just makes the fittest people safe all the time. No, because there are consistent ways to sabotage people during the competitions. So that you give them like a disadvantage and now they're doing worse. So like the people who already do the worst, they're looking to find any way to sabotage other people so that they have a chance of getting ahead. And if you're trying to take out a big threat, you try to find ways to make them do the hardest version of the challenge, and get the weaker people to do the easiest version of the challenge, so that you have a chance to take that bigger threat out, and so on and so forth. And there may be ways you can vote for people to have disadvantages. Maybe there are like secret mountain keeper drops that give you the chance to secretly sabotage somebody, like all kinds of fun stuff you can do that make the challenges, I think, a lot more exciting and thrilling, because there are consequences, like actual consequences. Here's my problem with this one. They didn't even tell us what the consequences were ahead of time. If they had, it would have been a lot more thrilling. If it had been, hey, here's the situation. This is a 4-4 vote split right now. And it could go either way. We're trying to push Beckylee to flip, but we're not sure if we can make it happen. And this challenge means that you lose your vote if you don't make it across. That screws us because we need all 4 of our votes. Crap, Jeannie fell. She was one of our locked in votes. We are now screwed if Amy makes it. Amy goes, falls. Oh my God. Okay, we're back at a tie. Thank God. But then she gets to go again. That would have been a much more thrilling sequence had we known what the consequences were in the real time. And instead, it was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, they might take their food away. I don't know. And then it wasn't until after that we realized it was very consequential. It's a very silly sequence of events, in my opinion.
No, that's a good point. I like when the moment they finish the challenge after Amy falls, she goes back up, she does it again, and then they just sit there because they don't know what's about to happen. They have no clue what the punishment is. They don't know how to react. They just know, okay, no, so that didn't go great. Jeannie's about to be punished, and they're just sitting on the ground. Like they're not. There's nothing for them to do until Manu shows up. Like, all right, by the way, she lost her vote. It's like, oh, okay, God. Whew. I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I don't know if she's going to go home or what, but there is that moment where it's like, yeah, they could be doing so much more with those still moments, especially if we know that there's like a lot of stakes to these moments. The thing that excites me the most about this show, Taran, is that this is season 1. You and I have watched shows where season 1 just ain't it. You know, season 1 is almost unrecognizable to the show that we would grow to learn to love, like Big Brother, or even, you know, like Survivor. Survivor season 1, I love Borneo, but not for the same reason I love Survivor season 20, you know, or the Survivor, you know, 20, you know, what 29, what 28, whatever. So I'm able to say that, okay, we sit here and we talk it through every week and say, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. There's so much room to improve on this, you know, to where you can say, all right, let's start sabotaging these things. Let's give somebody immunity. You know, had Jeannie or Amy decided, okay, I want to go last or whatever, and she had less rope to deal with or something like that, but she managed to conquer that. It's like, oh yeah, now she gets an extra vote, or you know, she gets immunity from she can't be nominated this time, or maybe she gets to choose all the nominees. You know, just give people more incentive to do well, but to also put their neck out on the lines in these situations where they could just, you know, be passable. I think Pumpkin's talking about it throughout the episode. She's in the military. And I'm like, okay, now what are you going to do with that information? It's like nothing, because it doesn't incentivize, like her other skill sets don't come into mind at all when you play the game, because it's literally just do the same challenge everybody else is doing. And I really want them to lean into like all the machinations of this, because you could do so many different things with this mountain. And it feels like the show is playing it a little safe right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that you can be a lot more transparent about the relationships and the strategic structure because like I think the reason why they're being so coy, I would assume it's what Survivor does sometimes, and I don't like it when Survivor does it either, is like, oh, well, if we told you where everyone stood, it would be way too obvious what was going to happen week to week. Because like you would know, oh, there's actually an alliance of 5 that's been pagonging the whole time, or something along those lines, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of these shows, they'll try to hide that. They want it to be a surprise who gets voted out every time. And I don't even think that's necessarily the case, you know, or maybe it is. Maybe they've hidden it, right? But like when you are messing with the contestants, this is a new show full of twists and turns. It's about mountain climbing, and the social strategy portion is sort of a side element to it. So like you can play with this all you want and be as unfair as you want. And I don't think anybody's going to bat an eye. So by messing around with them, you are giving yourself the freedom to be like, hey, these two are best friends. This is the alliance here. But they are in trouble because 2 of them performed the poorest in the challenge. Because the others saw that they were a threat and they managed to get a disadvantage on them. Whatever the case may be. And now all of a sudden it's like things are more interesting because you have more information and you have, again, the stakes are there. I just think that there's better ways to do this, in my opinion, but because I think it's a cool concept. I really do. I think that like there's something here, but so far it just hasn't been delivering since Bo's death.
My thing is, I want them to be able to backstab each other more. And you talked about sabotaging, but I really think that if you're a person who comes in with a physical disadvantage to the other people, you know, because next season, right? They do casting for next season. There's going to be somebody who's sitting at home right now who's like, I climb mountains. This is the show for me. These people would never vote me out because I'm likable, but also I climb mountains. This would be so easy. That's what Jeff thought. But, you know, there's somebody sitting at home thinking, this is my jam. And they're going to apply next year. And they're going to be number 1 with a bullet for everybody's winner pick to win the game. The next Beckylee or Dusty or Nick or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, that person is going to come and they're going to apply just like the next, you know, Jeannie is going to apply. The mom who got off the couch, who surprised herself and was able to, you know, overcome these obstacles. I want there to be a moment where that person, the genie of the season, can say, all right, I don't know how I'm going to get over this thing better than that person is. But maybe if I take immunity this time, it'll give me a leg up over, this next obstacle or something like that. Or maybe it'll hinder that person. And it's like, yeah, it sabotages them, but it also protects me for this vote out. And now I got a whole nother round of play where I could potentially put somebody in danger who would have never been in danger, like a Beckylee. Like, oh, because I took immunity. I think it's House of Villains this season. There's a first challenge that New York is offered a chance, like she can hit like this button and it will give her automatic immunity for the week, but it will like make her team lose,
Mm-hmm.
And I think she does it. And she does it like instantly. Like everybody has the option who can press the button. But that nobody wants to sabotage the whole team. Of course, New York is New York. So she presses the button. And at first you're like, oh, well, she's the obvious target. Next time we get a chance. But she just earned a bunch of allies by doing that, right? Like she took herself out of the running to go home that week. She put the target on a bunch of people, and now those people have to fight amongst themselves where she can kind of go and hide, or she can win immunity next week. There's other ways of doing this to where it incentivizes players who would normally not do well in the challenges to give themselves a leg up while potentially, dragging down some of the people who will far and away win this game if you just allow them to exist. And so, fingers crossed for more twists like that maybe in the future.
Yes. All right. Well, there was one other. Can we talk about how Manu Bennett at the start of this episode was like, "Yeah, we're reaching the dangerous part of the summit. Avalanches could happen at any moment."
Right. And I was like, "What? No, they can't."
B-roll of like random boulders just chilling, like just teetering on the edge of a cliff, like big swaths of like snow and ice just like hanging there. I'm like, geez.
Yeah. They had to remind us that this is a mountain, let's get caught up in all the social strategy, but at the same time, hey, not too loud because y'all start tripping and this could all come crumbling down. Now, I don't actually think that this can happen, but I definitely think you want it to look like it, right? Like I definitely think you want the stakes to feel like, all right, this is dangerous. It's treacherous. I know it feels treacherous for sure. The weather is crazy. It's like 38 degrees, 18-mile-per-hour winds out there. These people are freezing. They made them jump in the water. There's a lot going on with the terrain, but the avalanche thing was nuts. Manu just being like, yeah, by the way, that mountain could fall on you, so don't get it twisted. And they were like, oh God, like he's scary, but the mountain is also scary too.
Yeah, it's like hold on, Manu. You're telling us we should not be too loud lest we cause an avalanche, and in the same breath you're saying, oh, and the mountain keeper's gonna be dropping by soon.
Gonna come by in a helicopter, loud as hell. Yeah. Like, mountain keeper, chill. The mountain keeper don't care about these people's health. She's flying the helicopter right next to them and just like it just to intimidate them, just to come out and take a look at what's going on. I don't know. I feel unsafe, and I feel way safer now that I know the ropes can break.
Yeah, I feel like the mountain keeper is gonna step out in the final episode and be like, "It's me, the safety officer. It's been me the whole time."
He's the only other character we haven't seen. The fact that we even got safety officer off screen being like, yeah, you guys do the challenge again. What I'm saying? They could have said the mountain keeper did it. Like the show could have really been like, the mountain keeper has spoken. Amy, you get another chance because the rope broke. And I think we'd be okay with that.
Why wasn't the safety officer the one to be like, hey guys, the snow's too snowy right now, visibility's too low, you can't go for the day? Remember that episode when Dusty was like, it's not safe to go today, so we've decided we're gonna hang back for a day? Like, no, it wasn't. It was not your call. It was definitely that safety officer who was like, guys, you're not allowed to go today. You guys aren't mountaineers. You don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Dusty. Like, I can't even see y'all. So I think I'm just going to sit this one out. The show was like, no, you really have to go. It's like, or what? Like, what you about to do? I'm just going to sit here and see what happens.
Listen, I am a sucker for the appeal to authority fallacy. If they told me it was safe, I'd be like, all right, I guess. I mean, they wouldn't have us die. That'd be pretty bad for them. So I guess it's probably fine.
Minutes later, Amy's rope breaks, and you're like, huh, okay. Maybe they wouldn't have us die on purpose.
Well, luck, she had the good rope, so
Yeah, the
she
good
was
rope.
fine.
I don't trust no ropes no more. Although they made these people get in the water, or at least Nick, they're like, all right, in order to get the rafts, you got to get in the frozen lake. And it's not quite frozen. I think it's at like 36 degrees Fahrenheit. That's still too close. That is still too close to get in that water. For me, I'm like, I'm dusty again. We thought about it. No, you're going to have to bring us the boats.
There are people that do that for recreation. That's for their health. The cold plunge.
But that's a quick thing, right? It's not a swim. I think you just jump in and get out.
Swim, but
like an ice bucket challenge.
Various lengths depending on your your ability, your tolerance.
I know you don't like the cold, Taran. Would you do a cold plunge?
No.
I feel like I would do it to say I did it, but then after that, I would never do it. Like, it wouldn't be like a thing.
Yeah, like if it were in front of me and I was dressed for it, I'd do it. But like, I feel like the odds of me being in that scenario are fairly slim.
No, I don't think so. I think that there's definitely a moment, right? Let's say we have a live show in Toronto, and it's like, hey, this is the week of the cold plunge. Do you want to do it? You got to do it, right?
Yeah, I would do it. That if it was like, hey, we're all gonna do this group thing, let's go hang out and do a cold plunge, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, why not?
Or if it was like, hey, we're all swimming at a pool and they have a cold plunge here. Should we try it? I'd be like, yeah, sure. But I wouldn't be like, I wouldn't by myself go like research like best cold plunge in my area. Like
near me. I would never do it unless, like I said, like you said, we'd have to, it just be faced with the situation. But in this challenge, they say like, all right, we just need one person. I think Manu says, okay, which one of you can swim? And I was like, why? Like, you trying to make me get that water? Because no, I actually don't think I can swim. I only know how to row boats. So figure it out.
I think I forgot. I know I said I could in the application. I think I've this mountain climb has taken a lot of mental energy, and I feel like I've forgotten the swimming thing. Yeah, sorry.
Right. That water looks really cold. Like, I know to swim like a pool. But the water looked amazing, Taran. That water, you could see straight through it. I was like, oh man, that looks beautiful. It was definitely something that you see on like the background of someone's like a screensaver on someone's television, or someone's computer screen. I was like, this is nice. So the scenery was cool, but the temperature was way colder than I expected. They're heading to the snow line, but it's already damn near freezing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is maybe not an underreported because they're constantly reporting it on their show, but like a cool thing about the show for the contestants is like it is a cool adventure, and I feel like Survivor has become less and less of an adventure over time. Like I think back in the day you could be like, yeah, I went to this really cool place and it was pretty unique. Like I was the only Survivor season to go there, and we spent 31 days, and I learned how to make like fish and make fire and make shelter, and it was like I learned how to survive. And nowadays it's kind of like, yeah, we went to the production beach and we learned a couple of things, but half of us didn't even practice fire, even though that we knew that we had a fire challenge at the end. And I feel like it's a little bit less of an adventure. But these people get to be like, yeah, we climbed a freaking mountain. We did a bunch of zip lines and ladders and bridges, and one of us swam to get rafts.
Yeah, I would prefer. I don't know. I wish they had put more people in the water. Although I'm saying I don't want to do it. I just think that, Nick didn't get rewarded for what he did. Like maybe socially they feel like we got to keep Nick around in case we need somebody else to jump in the water. But, incentivize them to go out on a limb a little bit more. The water's very cold. We need the raft. Y'all aren't going to just let us sit here. So someone has to do it. So, give him something for allowing him to, or for making him do it, or make everybody get in the water.
I mean, let's be real. If this were the challenge, they'd be falling off of challenges into water.
Yeah, from like hundreds of feet in the air. Completely dangerous, no harness, nothing, and just dying. Breaking their backs and then showing up to the next challenge like nothing's wrong.
And that would be more fun to watch.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I thought there would be way more suspense to Nick in the water. I really did. I remember they showed it in the preview for the next episode. I was like, oh man, someone's going like they're gonna have to get in that icy water. That's gonna be so cool, you know. And it was just like, no, he just waited out there. He wasn't even cold for that long because when he comes back, they already got the fire made for him. They're like, yeah, they prepped it and everything for him. And I just feel like there's more suspense if you kind of let the elements take over. Rob and I, we watched that Outlast show on Netflix where they're in the Alaskan wilderness. And when they get in the water, those people freeze to death. You know, like they know that getting in the water is a death sentence in the game. Like there's no, like for a lot of them, they come back and it's really hard to bounce back from that. For this, it felt like Nick didn't even miss a beat. So kudos to him for being able to be the one to go do this. But I really do feel like if you're going to put yourself out on a limb like that, you deserve to get rewarded in some way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just still imagining the version of the show where this was like Chekhov's Avalanche, and like this is like a scripted show, and like the reason that Manu brings up the Avalanche is because at the end of the season, an avalanche, like they're like, it's the summit, it's right there. No, don't say it so loud.
Right.
Cut to credits.
Yeah, someone's on the radio like. Fire off the dynamite, you know. It's like, but they can still do that. And you know, they could still make this exciting. I would love to see because we're 3 checkpoints away, I think, at this point from the end.
Something like that.
Something like that. You got to make these last few, you know, checkpoints very harrowing. You know, we've traversed enough, we've climbed enough, you know, we've even swam a little bit, just a little bit, you know. Skiing or something like that, sledding down the side of a mountain or something like that. You know, let's spice it up. We got a little time, you know, maybe start the Avalanche, Manu. What else is he doing?
All right. Anything else to talk about, Chappell?
No, not really. You know, shout out to Jeannie for making it past this elimination. You know, it did look like it could have gotten grim for her. She's in a tough spot, you know, being the mom that, you know, is starting to slip off. She lost one of her allies, but I really, really want to give the credit to Beckylee. I mean, we say this every week, but just to find herself between 2 alliances of 3, it's like, it doesn't get any better than that right now. You know, like, hey, both sides need you. Maybe she could have kept Dennis because that would have definitely kept that other side like on her side, you know. Maybe they're less willing to vote out a Jeannie or a Nick than they would be Dennis, but I mean, it's a masterclass. If she wins this game, we'll be talking about her next season. Like, hey, who's going to be the Beckylee of the season? So, you know, shout out to her. But, you know, kudos to the big players, the Dennises of the world who came out to, you know, be big characters in a game where they apparently didn't know what was going to happen. So, you know, I'm loving that portion. The characters are making the show for me, Taran.
Yes. All right. Well, that's it then for the summit this week. We will be back as we close in on the end of the summit season 1. In the meantime, you can check out some of the other stuff we're doing. We know scripted TV we're doing some Big Brother off-season coverage if you want to check out some deep dives. And find me on Twitch, hanging out, playing games, watching shows. Chappell, how about you?
Follow me on Blue Sky. I'm over there now.
Yeah.
Taran, you're there too. Yeah.
I did. I went over there.
The skies are blue. I'm over there skeeting my life away. Yeah, follow me.
That needs to change. That's not a good word for it.
The app, the Blue Sky app, you know, because back in Twitter first started, they had the third-party apps, you know. The first Blue Sky third-party app that I found, it's called Skeets. It's done. It's there. It's already in the App Store, Taran. You can't undo this. It's done. Get on board. Skeet with us or get lost. Go back to X.
It's not like X is using Tweet. Why don't we just keep Tweet?
It's too late. Skeets is made. You can't go back and undo all the stuff. It'd be different if it was like we were just throwing around names, but this has been published. You know, I downloaded the app earlier, so I'm definitely skeeting over on Blue Sky. It's Chappell's Kickback, CHAPPELLS That's the first time I've ever spelled that out loud, and that was crazy. So make sure you go follow me on there, and then follow me on YouTube, youtube.com/@RHAPKickback to keep up with all the stuff I got going on my podcast as well.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today, and we will see all of you next time.